Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Integration Ninjas. In today's video, we are going to take you on an exciting journey into the world of modern application deployment on Amazon Web Services. We will be demonstrating how to deploy a Node.js application to an AWS Elastic Container Service instance, all automated using GitHub Actions. Containerization has revolutionized the way we build and deploy applications, and AWS ECS is at forefront of container orchestration services. It allows you to easily manage, scale, and deploy containerized applications with incredible flexibility. In this tutorial, we will cover everything you need to know to get your Node.js app up and running on ECS. We will start by containerizing our application, pushing it to Amazon Elastic Container Registry, which is known as ECR, and then using GitHub Actions to automate the deployment process. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a clear understanding of how to set up a robust and automated deployment pipeline for your Node.js applications on AWS ECS, giving you the power to scale your apps effortlessly and ensure they run reliably in production. So this is the workflow diagram that we are going to do as part of this video. So we will be running we will be creating a workflow file where we will run the GitHub Action scan. There we will build the Docker image and push it to AWS ECR. This is the first part, and then the second, we will update the AWS ECS service with a new task definition that we are going to update after the image is created, and then according to that, we are going to deploy that service on the AWS ECS instance, and we will edit all the configurations there. We will create a ECR repository and ECS instance, and respectively service and task. Okay, let's go to it, how we will achieve this. Okay, so for that, we can do one thing. We can create a ECR repository. So simply you can search the ECR portion from this AWS console and go to that part. Yeah, so we can click on get started. So we are going to create a private repository, and since the project is Node.js-app, so we are going to have this ready. Name, the repository name will be Node.js app, and will not touch the other settings, and will create a repository. Okay. Okay, so the repository is created. We need to notice this thing also, that this URI will be needed while we'll create a task definition for our container. Okay, so now we need to set up AWS ECS instance. So let's search the ECS service here, Elastic Container Service. Okay, so let's create a cluster first. So creating a cluster here with click on create cluster. So there are like two types of, there are ECS is like Elastic Container Service is a fully managed container orchestration service that simplifies your deployment, management, and scaling of containerized application. You just need to describe your application and the resource required, and Amazon ECS will launch, monitor, and scale your applications across flexible computing options with automatic integrations to other supporting AWS services that your application needs. So there are like few types of, so we are using a free tier account. So AWS Fargate, and this is the for Fargate, so which is not supported in the free tier account, and this is for networking. So we are going to use this EC2, ECS with EC2. We are going to create our cluster with EC2, and let's click on the next step. So we'll leave this settings. We'll have on-demand instance, and we'll use the T3.micro, which is eligible with free tier account will have only one instance. Okay, and this is fine, this AMI ID, and let's select one VPC, default VPC, and subnet also. Let's select the all subnets in this particular VPC. Automatic assign public IP, let's keep it enabled. And security group, we will create a new security group, or we can use let's create a new security group. And inbound rules we need to define for our security group. So let's see, in the last application, what was the port enabled? Okay, so it was 5000, so we can set the inbound rules 5000 port. So whenever we'll hit the public IP with this specific port, our application will be running. Okay, so container instance IAM role, this is fine. Okay, let's create this cluster. There are some errors on this page. Let's see what are the errors. Okay, we haven't give the cluster name. So what name we can give to the cluster is, we can give it as dev cluster. It takes some time to create this cluster. It's creating cloud formation stack resources for our cluster and we'll deploy it. So if you can see, this is successfully created. Okay, yeah, this is done. Now let's open the ECS service again. Now we need to create task definition for this cluster. Let's create task definition and we'll assign a container to it. So it specifies the container information for our application, such as like how many container are a part of our task and what resource they will be needed. So we'll define everything in this. So we are going to select the launch type as EC2 in this video. And clicking on the next tab, configure task and container definitions. So let's give this name as what we can give, node app task. Okay, or we can give it definition, node app task definition, NodeJS. Okay, so task role, let's select this role. Network mode, we will make it as default as of now, and task execution role will have to ECS task execution role. And here we need to give some memory, to specify for our task, when our EC2 will run, we need to give it some memory. So let's give it 1 GB for this one. Okay, I think we don't need this. If you see, this is optional for EC2 or external launch type. When we are running a Fargate instance, then we need. So when we run the EC2 ECS with EC2, we need to configure things manually, but when we run it with ECS Fargate instance, then we don't need to set up everything. AWS will manage everything. So we will not define here task size since it is optional for EC2. And now we need to add the container definition. So container. So we are going to name our container as suppose Node.js app, and image we need to give what image it will be. So this is the URI of our repository. This is the ECR repository, and after that there will be some tag we will create. So let's suppose I will give a tag as latest. So this will be the image here, and will not do this. And memory limits hard size. So ECS recommends 300 to 500 MB as a starting point for web applications. So I'm giving it as for 900 MB or something for now. And port mappings, I'm giving it as 5000. So our container will run on this particular port 5000, and port will be enabled 5000. Same we have did for the security groups. Okay. So we are not going to do this container configuration command and everything. We don't need this. Here also CPU units we can define as 1, and this we can define as 1 vCPU. Okay, let's see like what will be the value. 1 GPU unit, the number of GPU units to the container. Okay, we'll not set this. Okay, so we are done with this, and let's create this. So all configuration has been done. We have set the container for our task. Let's create this. Okay, so this is done. Now what we need to do is we need to create a service, and we'll attach that service with this particular task. Okay, so let's go to the Amazon ECS again cluster. Go to the dev cluster, and when you click on the create service, so service is like a fundamental component of ECS that allows you to manage and run a specific number of tasks across a cluster. Okay, so we'll select the launch type as EC2, and task definition, the revision will be first. Okay, so cluster is fine. Service name we can give it as Node.js app service. Number of tasks it will be 1, and rest everything is fine. Don't need to change anything. We don't need the load balancing as of now. Okay, let's finish this, and let's create this service. Okay, now we can see the service has been created. Task will start momentarily in this particular service. Since we don't have the repository, the image there, it won't run or it will fail. So now let's start our implementation. What we are going to do, we have seen last time we have deployed to AWS EC2, where we have make use of this Docker file. So I'm going to create a branch on top of this only, so I can reuse this code. And when we run this get all users, we'll get the user details, which will be available in this mockdata.json. So all details will be visible when we'll hit that endpoint. Okay. So let me create a new branch, deploy to ECS from the CICD Docker EC2. Okay. Okay, now we are going to follow the approach that is recommended by the GitHub. Since we are following the GitHub Actions CI/CD approach, we'll follow the GitHub action. So there is a documentation deployed to Amazon Elastic Container Service. They provide some predefined the existing actions provided by the AWS. We have to follow these steps. These are the actions provided by the AWS action. We can log into the AWS network with this particular action. Configure AWS credentials. You just need to have your AWS secret key and the access key and the secret key. That's it. And you need to set the region also for that, and you will be able to log in into the AWS ECS environment. Once you are logged in into the Amazon environment, you have to log into Amazon ECR with this action, and it will pick up all those details from the earlier one and will log in you there. Now what we will do is we are going to build the image from the Docker and we'll push it to the Amazon Elastic Container Registry. So we will set the registry path, and that will come as part of this particular action. If you see, they will provide us the particular URL of our registry. So if you see this, so this will be the URL, it will be provided, and after that we will be adding the repository name and the image tag. So we are going to build this and push it to the Docker image, and this particular statement will be using this output of this tab and will store in the GitHub output variable. So this image will be used in the other ones. After that, we will be render the ECS task definition. So we are going to update the task definition. We need to, once if you see the steps here, we need to have the AWS ECS task definition JSON file in our repository as well. So it will be update and it will push it to the Amazon ECS and will start the deployment process. After this, we need to provide all the task definition and the service details here. So we are going to use these actions and we'll start our CICD without having any issues. Sure, let's do this. Okay, so in the .github workflows, before that, what we can do is, we will go to the task definition. Seems quite slow. Seems like there is some issue with the network itself. Let me reconnect. Yeah, now this is working. Now we need to select this Node.js app task definition, and we'll click on this and we'll pick the JSON data here, and we are going to add this in our GitHub repository. Okay, so let's go to the Node.js app, and inside our deploy to ECS branch, we are going to upload this code in the particular format. Go to the local, not have, add file, upload files, or we can create a new file itself. We have to name the ECS task definition file same that we have here, Node.js app task definition, so it will deploy there. task definition file will be deployed as a JSON. Okay, let's commit this. And now if we go to the CICD workflow, we have the existing one in the previous one. Now we are going to edit this. Now we are going to write the CICD for this current project, that when this particular event will trigger on this event of okay, we will be using the AWS runner itself. We are not going to change this, the Ubuntu latest. I'm not setting up the self-hosted runner here. We are using the Ubuntu latest here. And after that, we are going to check out the code. All this is fine. Let's CICD and now let's build and deploy. Okay. Build and deploy. We are going to rename this and we are going to check out this code, and we don't need all these steps here. We are going to write all new things here that is present in this documentation. I will attach in this video description what we are going to set it here. Now we need to configure this AWS credentials. We don't know whether this code is the perfect one. We can search this action on the Google and we'll try to check the correct one. This is the action provided by the AWS. We are searching and opening the README, and we'll see what the latest configurations they have. Okay, so they have these things. Okay, so yeah, we are going to use the same thing. We are going to use the version 3, which is the latest one, and we'll provide the AWS access key and the secret key here. So let's add this configure AWS credentials, or let's copy this from here itself. We are going to use the version 3. They are using the specific commit ID. We will use the version 3, which is the latest one. And I have added this secret AWS access key and the secret key access key in my GitHub environment variables. You can also add the same thing there. You simply go to the secret and variables and click on the actions. Here I have added my AWS access key and AWS secret access key ID. So you also have to add the secret variable there. And I have my AWS region as I think I have European North 1. And let me check. Yeah, this is the EU North 1. And this step will help us to log into the AWS environment. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to log into the AWS ECS. And then we are going to build this image right there. Okay. So let's use this and add it to our the workflow. We'll edit this as required. Log into Amazon ECR. Let's check which is the latest version they are using. Amazon ECR login. Okay, they are, I think, using the version 1. So we'll use the same thing. Here in this video, like we are using the actions that is provided by AWS. So we just need to pass the required inputs that is needed to get our task done. So we don't need to write the traditional commands for Docker, like log into the AWS here. So we are just using the actions which will do these things internally. We are just using, since this is a authenticated provider by the AWS itself, we are using this. Otherwise we could have used the command itself. Okay, it is recommended in the way of GitHub actions. So let's do this. Build image and ECR registry. After login to Amazon ECR, what we are going to do is, here I think we need to do something. Login ECR. We need to have this mask password true as well. This we missed there. Now what we are going to build, tag and push image to Amazon Elastic Container Registry Service. So we are going to build the image here. So let's do this. So we'll get the registry URL from this registry details from this particular, after login to the Amazon ECR, it will return us the registry URL. So we'll have this, we'll save this registry URL in this environment variable, and we'll save our image tag not using the GitHub commit ID. It is recommended, but for this reference, I will just use the simple thing, latest. Okay. Now we are going to build a Docker container and push it to Amazon ECR so that can be deployed to ECS. So simply we will be using the commands docker build -t, and we'll have this where we are, what will be the image name. So it will be the registry name, registry URL, and then the ECR repository. So our ECR repository is nothing. We have to set that as well here. We can set it here simply with the, let's name it as repository only for reference, $repository, which will be Node.js app, because our Elastic Container Registry, the repository name is Node.js app. And after that, what we are going to, it will build the image, and with this simple thing, docker build -t, and then we are going to push this image to that particular Elastic Container Registry URL. So it will push the image inside this Docker, inside our ECR repository service. Okay. So this is the command we are going to use, docker push. So if you see here, when we open this, here we can see the push commands as well. So this same thing we are doing it here. We are going to docker push, and this is the registry URL, and this is the repository name and the tag. So we have did the same thing. It is the URL, registry URL, and then it will be the repository name and the tag, image tag, which is latest. Okay. We are going to store this image in the GitHub outputs. And after that, what we will do is, let's go to that documentation, and now we have to render the ECS task definitions. So if you see the steps here, they are telling us to store your Amazon ECS task definition as JSON file in your GitHub repository, and this should be available. So it will be rendered and it will be updated on the fly. When you see the diagram also, it tries to update the AWS ECS service with the new task definition. So a new task definition will be created. If you see the task definition, this is version 1. A new task definition will be created, and it will be running the new service. Okay, so let's do this. We are going to fill in the new image ID, and this will create this new task definition here with this action. Okay, there is some issue. Okay, it was just a formatting issue. Now we are not changing anything, and this is also a version 1. You can check in the readme. And the task definition, what will be the task definition? So my task definition is the Node.js app task definition. I'm not storing in any environment variable. I'm just directly assigning it here itself. Okay. Okay, not here. Here. .json as a .json, because we have uploaded that file as a .json there in our GitHub repository. And what is the container name we have given? I think we have given the container name as, let's see, what is the container name here? Node.js-app. So it will be Node.js-app, and we need to pass this input, the image input, to this particular action. So this is fine. The whatever image will be creating, we are storing in the GitHub output and will pass it here. Okay. Once this step will be running, a new task definition will be created. It tries to initiate the new service. It will try to initiate the service with the new task. A new task will be started. Okay. So after that, what we have to do is we have to deploy this ECS task definition that we are created. Okay. So here also we are going to use the version 1 of it. We can check which is the latest one. I'm not sure here. Oh, my bad. But yeah, it opens the correct one. Yeah, it's the version 1 is the latest one. So I'm using this task definition here. This is fine. And the service is, let me check what is my service here. Service name is, go to the clusters, dev clusters. Okay, this also we need to define. Let's add this first. In the cluster, we have dev cluster, and service name is Node.js app service. So let's write this here. Yeah, that's it. Now we can run this and see if, I hope it should work, but let's see if any error comes. We will try to resolve that. Okay, let's commit this and deploy to AWS ECS. Let's go to the Actions tab and see what is happening here. Oh, it failed right away. Credentials could not be loaded. Please check your action inputs. Could not load credentials from any providers. Okay. I think my secret variables are different. Let's see. I have AWS access key, and what I have used is, okay, this is the difference here, and this is AWS secret access key. Now it seems fine. AWS ECS deployment. Let's go to the Actions tab and see what is happening here now. Okay. Proceeding with IAM user credential. So our login is successful. If you see this particular action is successfully created, login to AWS ECR is done. Now it is trying to create the Docker image and it will push it to Amazon ECR. We can verify it here if it is available. Okay. This says the GitHub action, the AWS action is running internally, and these are the logs provided by that particular action. Okay. The push refers to repository. This and the nodes is it is done. Name. Let's see. Since this is image will be around 350, so it will take some time. It's still running. Okay, that is done. We can verify if the image is present here now. Yes, the image is present here. It is just updated right away. And deploy Amazon ECS task definition. The deployment started. Was this deployment progress in the Amazon ECS console? Let's see what is happening right there. Okay. Okay, I think the earlier task that we have created, that should not work since we have limited memory. This we need to stop here. Now if we go back and see services, since we have limited memory, we don't have the space to run all tasks simultaneously. This is the task, and let's go to the events tab and see what is happening. Service Node.js app service has started one task. Okay, let's see what is this task about. Okay, this action is done. We can verify it. Okay, now if you see, okay, this is started. The task is started for the particular service, and it gives us the link as well that this is the EC2 public IP link with this particular port. Okay, see if you see this is started. Now we'll try to hit the endpoint we have. Let's do that and see if our deployment is successful or it is have some issues. Let's see. I hope it will work. Yeah, it is working really well. Since we have enabled that security group right there, the 5000 port was enabled and the container port was there with the 5000 port. This is all about like how easily you can deploy your AWS application on the. You can deploy your Node.js application to AWS ECS instance easily without any hustle. The CICD setup is easy with GitHub Actions. We don't have to write any commands and do the efforts manually. We have to just follow the steps provided on the GitHub documentation. I will share in the video description link. I know like I have like provided you on the high level the ECS, the AWS actions, but this is really useful if you use these actions. It makes your life very easy. Now if you see, what the actions we have. Just to use the AWS, configure AWS credentials. It gives us all access to the AWS environment. We were able to push image to the Docker ECR and upload the upload the task definition and create a new task related to that. All thing was really easy, and it's not that difficult. We just need to create a Docker file and need to upload it to Amazon ECR, and we need to render that task JSON. Thing is, we need to have somewhere in our code, so it will pick up. We need to provide that path. We can update the path accordingly. You can have another repository. You can add in the secret if you don't want to share those resource details there, right there. For the reference, I just added here only in this particular repository. And after that, we just need to provide this task definition details. So this steps, this will refer to this particular action result, this output. So this is how you can do, how easily you can deploy your Node.js application to Amazon Elastic Container Service with the EC2 instance. Surely we'll go with the Fargate instance as well in the next videos. And also we'll try to cover up the other part as well while connecting to the database, how we can set up the database as well with this deployment process. So we'll go through everything. So if you like my video, please like, share, comment and subscribe my channel. Thank you everyone. Have a good day.